o'clock. Welcome, everybody. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everyone, and I know people from Honolulu to Harbor Springs, Michigan are watching us, so I'd like to welcome them. And then at this time, I'm just going to take a little change in the agenda, if you don't mind.
Yes.
And turn it over to our clerk, Martin Brook, for a special announcement.
I'd just like to make a quick motion to amend the agenda to add a new item number 1, which is to consider the adoption of a resolution honoring Tom Hayes for earning his certified municipal clerk designation.
Second.
Oh, we have support. We have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's
Okay.
approved.
Great. So we've done a little surprise for Tom. I had to make that amendment because Tom prepares the agenda and Tom sits here with us. We all know Tom. He works very hard to help ensure that the board functions properly, and all the notices are done and everything's done on time and properly. All I's crossed and T's crossed and I's dotted. And in addition to all of that, Tom helps to operate and run elections in the township and so many other things. Tom and I, this is my second term. It's sort of like Tom's second term, too. I was first elected to this position in November of 2020, and designation that Adina and I prepared secretly, so Tom wouldn't know. This is what it says. Whereas the Bloomfield Township Board of Trustees wishes to recognize and commend Tom Edward Hayes, the 10th, yes, he's the 10th, with us here is the 9th, administrative assistant to the clerk's office for his outstanding professional accomplishment. And whereas Tom has successfully completed the rigorous requirements required to earn the distinction of Certified Municipal Clerk, or a CMC, awarded by the International Institute of Municipal Clerks. And whereas the Certified Municipal Clerk program enhances the performance of clerk and their staff in communities of all sizes by emphasizing professional development, education, and experience. And whereas achieving this prestigious designation requires both significant experience in municipal government and the completion of extensive education programs in partnership with institutions of higher learning and municipal clerk associations at the state and national level. And whereas the CMC designation prepares clerks and their staff to meet the evolving challenges of the profession. And whereas there are currently only 140, yeah, that's right, only 140 other people in the state of Michigan have earned the CMC, which is an indication of the significance of this designation. And whereas by attaining this certification, Tom has demonstrated his dedication, professionalism, and his commitment to public service. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Bloomfield Township Board of Trustees formally recognizes and congratulates Tom Edward Hayes, the 10th, on this significant milestone and extends its sincere appreciation for his continued service to the residents of Bloomfield Township. Any support?
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. So I just want to also say that Tom, by the way, is a joy to work with. We're happy to have him in the office. And congratulations, Tom, on the accomplishment of this great designation. And keep on trucking, okay? You've got more to, there's I think there's like a senior CMC or something like that. And Tom, you want to maybe go to the microphone a quick second? He has some visitors here with him. This was a surprise, by the way, which was...
Well, I am certainly surprised at the proclamation the board prepared, and it's certainly an honor to work for the township and with you all. And with me tonight is my girlfriend Allison, my mother Claudia, and my father Tom. I appreciate that they traveled all this way to visit the board tonight, and wow. But thank you very much. And to my co-workers, Sean and Catarina, my boss, Martin, and Dina, they're all a pleasure to work with.
Tom was big bad. Now, in the middle, there. Oh, okay.
I'm fine.
Good thing you have 9 lives.
Take the microphone out?
Nope, we're still.
Okay, then we're good.
Okay. Oh, one more. Tom's family. You want to join Tom up there for a picture, family? Go ahead. Go back to your picture.
Not sure if I'm square.
Yep. Mom to the rescue.
Thank you, Tom, and congratulations. Great work. Yeah. Thank you. So next on the agenda, we'll open it up to public comment. If you're here to speak about any issue, if you come up to the podium on my right, your left, and we'll give you 3 minutes. If you keep it within 3 minutes, we'd appreciate it. And so it's an open microphone now if you'd like to come up and be heard.
I'm just going to read off here.
Sure.
Yes. Hello.
And
I'm
to state your name and address, please.
Oh, I'm Marcy Deschner, 6924 Cedarbrook, Bloomfield Hills, 48301.
Thank you.
Yep. I'm here to speak in opposition to the current Robertson Homes development. I live in Birmingham Farms. Residents have spoken at prior township meetings, and they've also met with Robertson Homes, but our voices have not been heard. This proposal is incredibly dense and not in line with Bloomfield's master plan or strategic initiatives. And Bloomfield residents have communicated that less density is a priority. And with that, we feel it widely deviates from the nature and spirit of the recent Oakland County millage that passed in November 2024. And it does not solve a problem of green space for our community because previously the Booth School land was swapped, traded, or given to a much more affluent community than ours. So this is the last green space that's available or left in our community. And we have a sub of 367 residents that should not be forgotten or left for this space to go to a condo development with 2 to 3 houses per backyard that back up into this. And we have 29 homes that border this space. On one side of the street, there's another 29, so you say 30, 60 homes. You have other streets such as Spruce and Glen Grove. That's definitely another well over 60, 70 homes that are directly affected, be it sandalwood, white pine, spruce, and so forth. And these areas need to be considered. They're not receiving notification. A lot of them don't even know this is going on. And a lot of these areas are also much lower level than ours up on Cedarbrook. We are higher when in terms of sewage and some of the water issues that we're all very much concerned about as well. To further summarize, I would like to say that I do not support this for the numerous variance requests that came up in the meeting last week. We didn't have notice. Again, we showed up short-sighted to be there and to share our opposition to this. We also have a petition with almost 200 signatures. I think we're at 199, that we really don't want to see or lose this green space for our community. We don't like the way the plans are currently laid out. We are open to discussions, to meet and talk and figure out a better way to handle this situation, if you will. But again, it's too dense. This is not a Bloomfield property or Bloomfield Homes. From the meeting last week, this was the most dense property it would be in all of Bloomfield. It's just, I'm not clear why we're even at this point with this property as it is, but that's where we're at. Right now, as example, in that proposal, any green space would be over by Telegraph or by a parking lot. It would be an exclusive gated community where we could look at it, but we won't be able to walk through or with our dogs to bike or run. We would be kept out from it. All of the more mature trees would be leveled and removed. There's nothing in there to.
Marcy, you're past the 3 minutes. Could you wrap it up, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Lastly, I would just like to say there's so much noise, congestion, and traffic already in that sub. It's very difficult to live there. Some days are peaceful, but mostly it's traffic accidents, and noise. It's very intense, and you stay inside. And with all of that, we would ask you to look at the selling property and if they are financially viable, if this is a viable solution, if this is a long-term solution, will these properties sell? What does this mean if the financial
Okay,
institution?
thank you, Marcy.
Yep.
Appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Joan Dunbar, and I'm from 7196 Glengrove Drive, Bloomfield, in the Birmingham Farms subdivision. And I'm going to reiterate a lot of what Marcy has already told you. Again, we are on the west side of this proposed new development by Robertson Homes. And most of you are aware, and you've heard from now several people, that we have a number of challenges related to the high water table and the ineffective stormwater drainage. Now, we are immediately adjacent to what the new homes will be. And these challenges currently present a safety risk for both people, cars, and they're quite a financial risk to the current residents. I think I mentioned earlier at another meeting that almost every house on our road at least has dual sump pumps and have paid extensive amounts of money for extensive drainage around the homes. So our concern now is really on the scope of the proposed development, the actual number of the ranch house condominiums, and also the density of the homes. And also attached to that is the number of variances that have been or will be required under the cluster housing ordinance. So the summary is that any stormwater damage in this subdivision will be extremely detrimental to the Birmingham Farms residents, both on the north side, the west side, and also the adjacent streets. Now, Robertson have projected that the current design will not create any additional stormwater damage. However, they are also able to confirm that the grading on the west side of the proposed development, which is Glengrove Drive, would actually be higher than the proposed development. They hesitated in telling us, and actually we may actually be lower. So that will give rise to more drainage in our division, and we just can't accept that as either a near-term or a long-term solution. So it was recommended by the design board that Robertson provide a hydrogeographical survey. I really implore the board to be extremely diligent in the review of these issues and consider the short-term and long-term implications for our subdivision. Robertson has also provided a landscaping design which, while attractive to the future residents of the proposed development, it in no way will replace the loss of privacy, the noise abatement, and the quality of life of the current neighborhood residents. So we urge the Bloomfield Township Board and the subcommittees to take any necessary actions to protect the current residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Joan.
Hi, Don Elder, 7145 Glengrove. Been in Birmingham Farms for about 30 years. My parents moved into the township in 1958, not 1858. So we've been around for a while. So I'm opposing the plan as well, the Robertson Home Development, as submitted. One, the variations to the master plan, which have already been mentioned. Two, the noise from Telegraph. Telegraph between Cedarbrook and 14 Mile is kind of a low area. It's a bowl, okay? South of Telegraph, south of 14 Mile goes up a little, and it certainly goes up to Maple, trapping sound. On the east side is, I think it's called the Glens of Bloomfield, and that has a 15-foot brick wall. Sound just bounces off that. We've been okay so far with 500 trees in the place where the development's going to go on. Many of those trees are over 100 feet tall. The proposal is to take all those trees out, including the 100-footers, and put a 5-foot berm in. That's not going to work. All that noise is going to come back our way. That's not good for us. Also wanted to talk a little bit more about drainage. It's already kind of been brought up before. I'm on Glengrove. We have people's sump pumps that run every 3 and 4 minutes, 365 days a year. We have people that put sump pumps, 2 sump pumps in, battery backup. Somebody has a whole house generator to make sure they don't flood. We have water, standing water in many of our ditches. Last Wednesday before the design board meeting, we had a storm, wet water flowed over Glengrove. In the middle of the winter, when there's a thaw, say January and February, we often get water going over Glen Grove and going over White Pine right at Cedar Brook. If we get unlucky and we have a freeze that night, there's a sheet of ice there. It's a skating rink. And there's a bus stop right there too. We can't have more water. This is a site cross-section. We met, I don't think we can put it up on the screen there, but we met with Robertson. They invited us over March 19th. And this site cross-section shows that the houses, as mentioned, on Cedar Brook, on the north face of this development, are a little bit higher by about 7 feet than the proposed development. That's not true on Glen Grove. We are below, according to their own map here, we are below them. All the water's headed our way. They've pulled out 500 trees. All those 500 trees no longer have a root system to pull water out of the ground. And as we all know, if you stand under a heavy leaf tree, you don't get wet from a rainstorm. They've pulled all the leaf trees out under this proposal. That surface water is headed back onto Glen Grove. Whether it's from a rainstorm, whether it's from a downspout, somebody's roof, we don't need more water. We just don't need more water. Thank you. Any questions?
No, thank you, Don.
Okay.
Hi, Stuart Harmon, 7094 Cathedral Drive. What the prior speakers have mentioned, I concur with, so I just want to emphasize the density aspect. Really nowhere do we have a proposal, in this township, we just heard of houses being this close together. I mean, I don't want to belittle it, but it kind of seems like a trailer park. But anyway, I think the township has a responsibility for the existing residents and the taxpayers to look at alternatives, to if it's going to be developed, to have it in a much more consistent basis with other developments in the township. So, much more green space, buffer between houses, much more than one little row of trees. So, I live behind where the Booth School had the development, but at least they preserved some green space and they put in some grassy areas and other things. But this proposal doesn't do that. It crams as many houses in as it can, and it eliminates tons of trees, green space. It's just going to, I think, it'll degrade the property values of all those people that border that area. So that's not fair to those people. It should be consistent and maintain property values. Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart.
If I'm redundant, I'm sorry, I got tied up by a medical thing.
Just your name and address.
I
please.
am Sylvia Hagan, and I live at 6934 Cedar Brook Drive
Thank you.
in the Birmingham Farm subdivision. I have lived in Bloomfield almost my entire life. And of course, I've seen lots and lots and lots of changes. That's okay, but they have to be consistent with what Bloomfield is. Bloomfield has historically been regarded as a very desirable place to live. Unfortunately, we are losing some of that ambience that makes it so special. I realize we're not going to be stagnant. We have to grow, but it has to be with careful consideration of what the elements are that make Bloomfield. The design of the proposed Robertson development, the enclave of Bloomfield, to me is the next step towards mediocrity. There have been many, many nicely designed condo developments within Bloomfield. The housing density and the tree removal of the Robertson development is not one of them. Bloomfield Township conducted a survey which I'm sure you're well aware of because you're part of it, to determine what the residents wanted in their township and what was important to them. And green space and parks and places for families to gather were all really high on the list. This is a green space. And my concern is that green space, once it's developed, you never can get it back. I mean, there's only so many trees and so many houses that can replace them. As I said, I live in Bloomfield, Birmingham Farms, and the proposed development is on two sides of our subdivision. Uh-oh, better hurry. It's now a heavily wooded 13-acre parcel that has pollution-grabbing vegetation, a nice cooling canopy of large trees that also mitigate the noise from the Telegraph highway. And the woods are home to a whole variety of wildlife. They will have no place to go except down the road, and they will not be assimilated into a new community. Okay, noise.
Thank you, Sylvia.
You're welcome.
Hello. Good evening. My name is Olivia Steele, and I live on the corner of Sandalwood and Cedarbrook Drive with my fiance at 6998 Sandalwood Drive. We're directly across from the proposed Robertson condo development. I echo the heartfelt concerns already shared and want to speak not just as a resident, but as someone who came back here to build a future. We chose this neighborhood to start a family, to give our kids the kind of childhood we had growing up in this very area. That dream is now at risk. The demolition of our green space isn't just about aesthetics. It means more noise, more air pollution, and the loss of the natural barrier from Telegraph Road. With 3 years of unbearable construction, noise, dust, and disruption right outside our front door is not something families should have to endure. The added density will overwhelm our infrastructure, strain our aging underground water systems, and stretch local resources thin. These proposed high-density condos simply do not reflect the character or values of Bloomfield neighborhoods. This isn't smart or sustainable growth. It's a step in the wrong direction. What our community actually needs isn't another development, but more shared space. Bloomfield Township has few public parks, and this is our chance to change that. Let's invest in something that brings people together, not pushes them out. Thank you.
Thank you, Olivia. If there's no further public comment, we'll close public comment. And, yes, sir, please come up.
Hi, Chris Gagnon, 6529 Cathedral Drive. I actually wanted to share more commentary today, but due to a lack of sufficient notification, I actually did not have time to fully articulate my thoughts. So I may be back another day to share a little bit more, but I did want to maybe come at this from the perspective of, taking a skim through the Code of Ordinances for the township. One that did stick out in particular that I'll share today, and again, I'll have some more another day. But is section 18-226. It is stated, and I quote, "The board further finds that the township is substantially developed and that property owners in the purchase, improvement, and maintenance of their land have relied upon the continuance of the character of the neighborhoods in which their properties are situated." A quick compare of a bird's eye view of our subdivision overlaid with the designed Robertson housing makes it clear that the character of the neighborhood would change dramatically. A handful of condo units alone would arguably reshape the character, let alone adding 38 units of high-density senior living and wiping out many acres of green space. This would be a significant harm to property value, and it would be a significant damage to the daily living for many in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, if there's no further comment, I'll close the public comment. But before we move on the agenda item, Andrea, will you just come up to the microphone for a minute? let's just run through the process of what happens after the design review board, you pick.
Absolutely.
And so that you're aware that this is just the beginning of where public comment really plays a part going forward. So go through the process.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm Andrea Bibby. I'm the director of our Planning, Building, and Ordinance Department. Just for a point of reference, understood that yes, the villas or the enclaves of Bloomfield did have a meeting last week. That was the Design Review Board. That is the very first meeting prior to any site plan going before ultimately the Planning Commission as well as the other bodies. For the Design Review Board, we do not send out public notification. However, for Planning Commission, for future meetings, any resident who lives within 500 feet of that property will be getting a notice within the mail that will tell you the date and the time of that public hearing in which you are to, you can certainly attend, you can write in, there'll be information on that notice and how you can communicate your concerns to the township and make sure that that gets to the board members so that they can hear your comments and concerns. So I just want to, in regards to this specific proposal, we did send out notices last Thursday for the July 7th Planning Commission meeting in which this item will be presented. At that level, the Planning Commission is a recommending body. They will hear public comment, and then based on what they hear at that meeting, they will make a determination in terms of how they would process that application, whether they could take action to deny, they could forward it on with recommendations or conditions. But then from the Planning Commission, it would go on to, in this instance, there is another body, it's actually the same members of our Planning Commission, but they are the Wetland Board. In this instance, because this proposal does impact wetlands, the township does have a wetland board. That also will require that 15-day public notice that everybody within 500 feet will receive a notice. That is another opportunity in which you can come forward and you can state your concerns regarding the proposal. And then the next step, again, these are all assumptions that they move on at each one of these board levels. I just want to highlight at the high level of what the process is. After a wetland board, ultimately, that would be the zoning board of appeals. The zoning board of appeals at that time, they will hear the variances that many of you have mentioned that would be associated with this proposal. That would, again, is another public hearing, another notification within the mail. And then lastly, there would be Township Board. For Township Board is the only body that can approve the site plan as presented. So again, another public notification, everybody within 500 feet. So I just wanted to clarify that there's no lack of notification. It's just that the Design Review Board, historically, the township does not send out public notices in the mail for those meetings. My name is Andrea Bibby. I am more than happy to take any phone calls. I'm sorry, I don't think I'm having a conversation right now with members of the.
Right, this is
Yeah.
the public comment, but.
But
so-
ultimately, I just want to note that there are multiple meetings to come. They will be public hearings, and there's decisions that will be made and considerations along the way. This is certainly just the very beginning of a very complex project. But again, we are more than happy to provide any information in our department that we're able to do.
And the agendas are all posted on the website for the Board of Trustees, for the Planning Board, for the Zoning Board. Are there any other postings that they can watch for?
Wetland Board, but I
Wetland
think,
Board.
as of right now, it's on the books that July 7th at 7 o'clock at night is the Planning Commission meeting. And that was after the Design Review Board heard that proposal last week.
Right, thank you. Any other comments from the board? No.
Is the Wetland Board meeting the same night?
Yes,
No,
usually.
good question.
This time it's not.
We're gonna have the Wetland Board and Planning Commission on separate evenings.
Okay. Thank you, Andrea. Kind of caught you cold there, but did a great job. Thank you.
That's what I'm here for.
Okay, wonderful, thank you. Okay, so
Can I make one comment
yeah,
before
sure,
we go on?
sure.
I just wanted to let residents know that a bit of good news, your tax bills are being printed and will be in the mail by the end of the week. And you should look for those. They are payable starting July 1st through September 15th, right? Okay. Don't wait to the last minute, but we are open on September 15th to accept the payment. And my advice is don't mail it. Just
Okay.
either drop it off in our 24-hour drop box, bring it into the office, or pay online.
All right, thank you. So item number 2, consider the consent agenda. Any comments or motions?
I'd like to remove item B.
Item B, okay, so Mark will make that item 2A.
Make
Yeah.
a motion to approve the minutes?
Support? Support. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so it passes. So we'll address item 2A now, approve payroll vouchers for June 23rd. Mark?
Yeah, my comment from last week regarding public safety and the cash flow needs, I followed your recommendations. I submitted a request to Jason.
Yes.
He was on vacation,
He was, he just got back.
so I look forward to receiving the information.
Yep. Yeah, I talked to him today, and he'll start working on it. Yeah, he was out on vacation all last week with his family.
Okay, so my no vote still stands, so
Yes,
we'll just
okay.
go ahead.
All right, any other comments? If not, I'll look for a motion to approve item 2A. Support?
Support.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, 6-1, thank you. Item number 3, the Police Department 2024 Annual Report, presented by our Police Chief, James Gallagher. Welcome.
Thanks for giving us a few minutes tonight to talk about our annual report. Congratulations. Yes, we love working with town. Real quick, Officer Heather Govach is our Community Relations Officer. She replaced Nick this year, so this was her first year doing the annual report. She did a phenomenal job. Seeing that she's had a busy week last week with the Youth Academy, I told her I'd come on the evening time this time and handle the report for her. So our 2024 annual report, just to remind our residents that our mission statement is to preserve the peace and protect our community with fairness, integrity, pride, and respect. And then our core values of integrity, respect, fairness, pride, and accountability are what we stand for. And if anybody's been in our police department, they know that these are in big vinyl letters down our hallways, that it's very important to us that while we may joke around with each other in the station, once that call for service comes in, there's a reminder of how we're going to act and respect the residents of Bloomfield Township when we go out there. So last year, our call for service numbers. We were down about 5% overall for our call for service number. Our total call for service was about 24,905. The decline of that would be in comparison or attributed also to the lack of manpower that we had. Being down at 1.13 officers last year, that number includes traffic stops, that number includes self-initiated field activity stops or investigations there. So that number, while it was down from a year prior, we also had several retirements in there that you can attribute that number to the decline for the overall call for service numbers. Again, we do a lot of public community service things that other communities don't offer. Our vacation house watch checks. Anytime somebody's out on vacation and they let us know, we will do several, it depends on how long they're gone, but the winter months are pretty busy months with that. But we will walk around all the residents' homes when they're gone on vacation to, check for many things. Obviously signs of a break-in, but there's been many times, probably more so of water main breaks or things or water breaks in their home that we come upon. We still do vehicle lockouts, which many agencies don't do anymore, and then 104 school security checks, which is actually low because we have 2 security resource officers in the schools all day. They don't count from poll numbers. Those are self-initiated school security checks that our officers go do. So for our call types, we're A, B, and C crimes, A being our highest, B being the middle of the road type crimes, and C's being what we call our community-driven crimes or our service calls. For our Part A crimes, which is our big ones, murder, stalkings, robberies, we were down significantly last year, about 16%, I think, overall with that. Same with our Part B crimes. Again, those are the ones that, if it's a hit-and-run accident, impaired driving, hit and runs, those were slightly up. Again, some of that you can attribute, though, to the manpower, right? Drunk driving cases are self-initiated stops on the road that just sometimes we're not there. The good news for us is that we just pulled down our applications offline for the first time since I've been chief in almost 3 years next week, that we are hopefully going to be fully staffed by April of next year. When I say that, it's because many of these individuals that we hired have to still go to the academy. We have 3 that started last week in the academy, 3 more hopefully starting in August. Then they have to go through that 18-week process and then our 17 to 20-week process internally. So hopefully by May of next year, that means we can bring back our traffic unit, which will be more of a directed patrol type unit, where they'll supplement both. Their target will be traffic enforcement. But we can also use them if we have a high crime like we saw a year ago with our stolen autos. They can kind of break their day down to, monitor traffic during the heavy hours and then doing some directed patrol stuff during the evening hours. So that'll be something to come, and our people will look very much forward to that. So our response to resistance would be what many people would be known as our use of force, but we call it our response to resistance. It decreased from, while our call for services decreased 5.4 from 2023, we responded to 24,905 calls for service. We initiated 2,075 traffic stops, and about 794 of those calls for service resulted in arrests. So that's, once we intend to take somebody in custody, we are technically seizing them according to the Fourth Amendment. Our average for that use of force, this is all online. We document everything from, with accreditation, what was not included in the past was pointing a firearm at somebody. When accreditation came in 2019, we started monitoring those numbers as part of that requirement. And so last year, I think we were up a little bit into those response resistance. Some of that also has to do with the increased technology that we have with flock cameras that we talked about coming up, that we've put into the township, which have been a huge success for us. But that alerts us if a stolen vehicle or a wanted vehicle is coming into the township, where when before we would not have gotten those results. That would just be luck of a traffic stop or luck of a thing. But with those license plate readers, and they only read a license plate. They don't run who the driver is. They can't tell us who's driving that car. They can't tell us how many time it's occupied. All it is a vehicle description of the back of a vehicle with the license plate. Where that's important is if we've been able to make arrests of individuals committing crimes in the township, and just a simple check of that license plate reader can give us a timeline of when those individuals were in the township. It just helps our case in the prosecution portion of it. But the increase or any of that would be, again, taken into account that when you make a felony stop on a wanted vehicle, for what anything could be wanted for assault of crimes out of another jurisdiction, at times there's going to be pointing of firearms. So all those numbers and all that stuff we are very transparent with, and we put them right online. We continued our community involvement. Many of the things that we're involved in the last year, again, with the Special Olympics, we have a huge support for the Special Olympics. I think we've proven that along the way. Last year, we did a donation gift card drive with our community. Heather and I, in Shelby Township, several of the other agencies, I don't want to list them all because I may forget one. We went to Beaumont, and we hit every pediatric room in the Beaumont Hospital and gave gift cards to the families, whether they were there for a day and whether they were there for long term. It was really a moving moment. They also built a ramp for one of our residents in our south end who did not have the funds to build a ramp and had sudden medical emergencies that required wheelchair assistance. Again, we do all of our Boy Scout and Girl Scout tours. Last year, the big one for us was the amateur down at Oakland Hills. Took up a lot of our manpower, but we built great community involvement there, and we actually had a blast working down there. So, again, all of our report is published right online. It's online now. All of our reports, whether it's use of force, pursuits, or any of the report there, which has much more detail. I think it's close to 50 pages of information from the police department. So, take any questions?
Yeah, thanks, Chief. Any questions? If not, nice job on the recruiting. It's wonderful to see these people coming in, and all of a sudden it's like a whole wave of
It's been fantastic. The last couple months have been good news, and let's hope they all successfully complete our process. And next April, we could be getting back to the police department we're known to be with proactiveness.
Traffic patrol, like you said.
We've been, Supervisor McCready and I have been talking, and we have been putting once a week or more, if we can, overtime details into the neighborhoods. And I know in one section last week, in just section 9 alone, I think they wrote on I don't remember if it was Wednesday or Thursday last week, but I think they issued 10 violations in a couple hours in that Hickory Grove area.
With all this extra traffic we're seeing from the 696, Chief
Everywhere.
came and said, let's add an extra patrol to help. And because what happens is the regular patrol will go to an accident or another issue, so yet we still got to have the neighborhood. So thank you for setting that up.
Yeah, it's been, so far, we've been hopefully making an impact in the neighborhoods.
Okay.
So,
Thanks,
great.
Chief.
Thanks for the time.
Thank you. Okay, item number 4, public hearing to consider site plan and special land use request by Mex Restaurant, 6675 Telegraph Road, presented by Andrea Bibby, our planning board director. Welcome back.
Hi, good evening. So, good evening, Board. I have a proposal before you this evening. This is a site plan review and special land use for the existing Mex Restaurant located at 6675 Telegraph Road. You can see highlighted on your screen the location of the subject property, just immediately north of Country Club Drive on the east side of Telegraph. The property is zoned B3 and also has a P1 parking classification as a split zoning parcel. So the proposal this evening is the applicant is seeking to expand the outdoor patio space, adding a 51 by 17 foot addition to the south of the building, which is highlighted in the darker gray shaded area on your screen. The purpose of this addition would make the total building area 6,090 square feet and allow for an additional 55 additional patrons to be served. The addition does not change any of the drive aisles or site circulation, as the proposal has been reviewed and supported by our fire marshal. The proposed addition does require the installation of a new 5-foot wide sidewalk to continue to allow for pedestrian access to be able to access the site in the front door, which is located along the west elevation. So that will not change the circulation in that area. This site plan was previously approved, the Mex Restaurant, with a Class C liquor license by the Township Board back in December 10th of 2012. At that time, the outdoor seating was approved in 2013 by the Design Review Board, noting that any seating within the outdoor patio area should not take place after 10 o'clock at night. The applicant's proposed hours of operations, or not proposed, the applicant's hours of operation are not proposed to change with this request. They have been previously approved that their existing hours of operation are 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. on Friday, and 12 p.m. to 11 p.m. on Saturday, and 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. on Sunday. So with this, I've provided you, the applicant actually has provided you an overview of their proposed addition of this outdoor seating area. With the addition, they are going to be required to relocate one parking lot tree. You can see that also highlighted on the site plan on your screen. It's kind of the darker circle now that will be more towards the east elevation of the building. That has to be relocated to allow for the addition and the pedestrian sidewalk. With that, the request is rather straightforward. This is a approximately 890 square foot addition, although we don't necessarily consider it an addition because it's not a fully enclosed building. So I do want to clarify that this is different, and we do look at this different than a interior space. This is still considered a seasonal outdoor area, but the current outdoor patio is rather small. And the applicant certainly sees an opportunity to provide a better outdoor environment for patrons, provided they have elevations that show an open ceiling, as well as some decorative brick elements to kind of provide that privacy, but yet still get that feeling of the outdoors. And these are some renderings that have been provided. And then here you can see pictures of the existing patio. Yeah. This did have an opportunity to go before both our Design Review Board and our Planning Commission. In both instances, it did receive a favorable recommendation and forwarding on to the Board of Trustees. I do want to note that this does not change any of the previously approved special land use criteria that was approved back in 2012 with the site plan itself. But we do have to call this out as a special land use because this is a restaurant with a Class C liquor license.
Wonderful.
And I do know that we have the applicant, Mr. Josh Humphreys, in the audience today if you have any questions for him particularly.
Why don't we open up for public comment? and then we'll come back, and then you can have the petitioner come up and address the board, okay? So at this time, if you have any thoughts or comments on this issue with MEX expanding their outdoor seating area, now is your time to come up to the microphone at the podium. If not, we'll close public comment and open it up to the board, and any questions from the board, or if the petitioner would like to make a comment, please feel free to come up and introduce yourself.
Good evening, gentlemen, madam. Josh Humfrey, representing MEX, part owner and chief operating officer. Just wanted to mention that one of the driving forces for the redesign was because, if you recall, prior to MEX, we had these big sweeping open garage doors, and it created an indoor-outdoor feel for the existing patio. And when we did the remodel a couple of years ago, we attempted to do the same thing without those garage doors, but with sliding glass doors, and we failed. It feels like an alley on the patio now. So we're attempting to expand it out, open the ceiling a little bit more, breeze block instead of flush wall, and it just opens it up and makes for a better patio season for our guests. There's a finite amount of days to sit on a patio. It's either too cold for 8 months of the year or too hot for 5 days like it is now.
Right.
So we're trying to capitalize on that and take care of guests.
It looks very attractive. It looks a lot more appealing.
Thank you.
And yet you don't feel like you're sitting on the edge of the parking lot? Because
Exactly.
sometimes, you know,
And you have the glass wall?
Excellent question. Shading elements for the patio, I don't know if they're shown on these renderings, but on the east side, about 50% of the way, we have some bamboo material that would roll over the top to help shade some of the sun. It's not a rain protective or a ceiling or a roof of any kind, but it should help block some 60% of the sun or so with this bamboo material.
I just kind of feel with the glass and south facing.
Yeah.
And then you get the reflection from the glass. And if you have low E glass in there, it's going to add more heat to the
You should-
outside. So it's going to, it's not going to get the return on investment that we'd like you to get.
You should see my HVAC bill.
So,
Okay,
Yeah,
any
you-
further comments? If not, I'll take a motion.
Make a motion that we approve the site plan and special land use as presented.
Support, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Good luck.
Thank you all.
When do you plan on
Look forward to
starting?
Well, I think we missed the season this year, so probably January for next year.
All right,
Thank you all.
thank you.
Thank you. Now, item number 5, consider approval of a resolution authorizing township polling places presented by Catarina Yankey, our election specialist. Welcome back, Catarina.
Hello, good evening. So at the last Board of Trustees meeting, I met with you all and gave a presentation about precinct consolidation. And one of the things I presented on were our polling locations and how we can have a great opportunity to have better and more improved polling locations. In that presentation, we presented a list of our proposed polling locations, and we are back again tonight to ask if you have any questions regarding those locations. We're also asking you to approve the list of locations that are found in the memo in your packet. So,
Any comments or questions?
The last presentation was very informative
Yep.
and certainly made a lot of sense logically why the changes were necessary. And besides giving consideration to the residents and security, as I know was mentioned, I think the issues that were presented have been taken care of, and I'm certainly very supportive.
yeah, it makes a lot of sense with the high turnout we had with the early voting. Has really changed the whole picture, so I appreciate you bringing it to us.
Yeah, I echo what Trustee Barnett and Murray have said. Again, your other presentation was very thorough, and any of our questions or worries were mitigated in that, so I appreciate that. It just seems to make sense. And again, you didn't rush to these conclusions. We utilized actual data and voter turnout information before we made any of these changes. So I appreciate what you and the clerk's office do. Thank you.
the motion will be for the polling places and as the backup as well?
yes.
Yes, so we need both. Okay,
Would you like to make that motion, Mark?
sure. I'd like to make a motion to approve the recommended polling places, precincts 1 through 12, as outlined in the board packet, as well as the backup polling places 1 through 10, as outlined in the board packet.
Support.
Support, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Catarina.
Thank you.
Passes 7-0. Item number 6, consider approval of increase in water and sewer inspection fees presented by Noah Mehalski, our DPW Director. Welcome, Noah.
Good evening. Here to propose raising our fees for like raw parts that we provide to residents. And we're talking meters, I guess parts and services, meters, regulators, and then taps that we do for the township. I will note that these aren't all of the charges that we have, so we have left some charges the same as they have been since 2016. We're just updating the ones we have data on. So, and for the meters, we've gotten a contract with SLC that determined the meter pricing for our meter exchange program. That was higher than the number we were charging, so we've updated that number to reflect that pricing. Similar with taps, we don't do underground work in-house on our own workers. We outsource that in the early 90s. And so we have to pay a contractor to come in, dig the hole, and we kind of have to take an average on those costs because sometimes you have to dig the hole across the road, sometimes the road's paved, sometimes it's not. Depending on the tap size, that's going to dictate the type of material that you have to put in the ground, that type of stuff. So we've changed. We kind of do research on what we're spending on taps each year, and we look for an average on that. And my staff has been asking me to increase these fees based on that research for a few years now. So we're basically losing money on taps. We're losing money on meters at this point. So that means that the rest of the system picks up that cost. And these are development costs. Because we replace the meters when they go in, so it's the first meter. So typically associated with development, new taps and abandonments are definitely associated with new developments. So my proposal is to update the prices as you see there, and then my plan would be to every 5 years evaluate these things going forward, so we don't have these drastic jumps and waiting, 10 years in between when we do these things. So.
Thank you. Any questions for Noah?
Well, I just have a comment. I did call Noah earlier today to kind of go through this, and not only was he open and willing to talk about it, we went through some of the numbers and understanding that there are some bigger jumps here. But the bigger jumps come from the fact that our ratepayers were actually offsetting development costs for a long time, putting more of a pressure on our rate. So our residents continue to ask us, find ways to reduce those rate increases. This is a way to do it, to ensure that we are not allowing our ratepayers that pay now to offset development costs. So I appreciate you and your team taking time to go through this and making sure it is equitable for everybody in our community. So thank you for that.
How much additional revenue on average will these fees generate?
I can look back at the data, but that really depends on the development and the level of what we have going on, right, which is not a finite thing. So I can pull some reports and send it to you on what we've spent on this for the last few years, which is kind of.
Is it 100 to 200 or 1
200,000? I don't remember the line item out of the budget here. There was no budget presented. These are revenues generated on the system that are accounted for in our budget under a revenue side.
There's no budget presented by water and sewer.
The operating tally shows how much we take in for these revenues, which would give me a basis to look at that number for you.
And you don't recall what that average is?
No, off the top of my head, I do not. And I don't
Okay.
want to, I can grab it off the website and I'll send it to you tonight.
Well, I think it would be important to understand the amount of revenue being considered to be brought in.
Well, it's not a revenue. We're looking to go even with the cost. What we bring in a contractor, we're looking to not lose money on these services. We take an average, we're not looking to generate revenue.
Well, the townships, since 2021, the fund reserves have gone from 9 million to 34 million for water and sewer. This past year, we have the the March 31st quarterly report shows I believe over $5 million in additional revenue generated.
This fee does not generate a revenue, though. It's offset by a cost that we pay out to a contractor.
It generates revenue to pay an expense. Yes or no?
It's a fee we charge for a contractor to come in and do taps.
Yes, and you charge the residents that fee. The revenue is in the budget.
It's offset by the charge.
It's offset by the chart. The revenue has to be collected, and overall, based on the quarterly results that were presented to the board, you have over $5 million extra last year. The money coming in has increased. The fund reserves have gone from $9 to $34 million since 2021. That's a lot of money. And you're saying you need more money to charge the residents.
Developers, these are development costs.
And that's fine. And the residents pay back into that system with their water and sewer rates, right?
I get it.
So my concern is we have enough cash. There hasn't been anything presented to the board regarding a need for additional water and sewer funds. As a matter of fact, the Township Board has chosen not to collect investment income on the cash that you have. And the most recent audit, that was over $20 million after expenses went out for over 2 months. So if we're not going to go and collect that investment income for water and sewer, and that's about $300,000 a year, but you want to increase these rates?
By ordinance, it's a shall statement that I update these and I don't take a loss. I don't believe the township's water system should be subsidizing development costs. And our ordinance dictates that as well.
Are there any other fees that have not gone up other than these? What are they?
Yeah, there are inspection fees that we go out and do a physical inspection of a site.
That's for building inspection?
They covered our costs, so I did not have
The
to
building
increase.
inspection a few years ago, those fees went up.
No, it's not building inspection. This is engineering and water department inspections of sites.
That's a different department. You're right, but that's a different department.
Okay, but again, you have more than enough cash. The Township Board has chosen not to collect investment income, which you're not even asking for. You're not asking for investment on cash in hand. That's $300,000 a year to offset all kinds of expenses that are coming in. And the township generated a lot of additional revenue last year, according to the quarterly report. So you talk about offsetting costs, but we keep collecting more than what we really need.
I get that. What I'm trying to do is comply with our ordinance
Okay,
with
so,
these fees.
so let's go back to the.
I'll make the motion if you're ready for it.
Yes, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the increase of water and sewer inspection fees as presented by our director.
Support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, 6-1. Thank you, Noah. Item number 7, consider approval of a resolution revising the criteria established for issuing a Class C or tavern liquor license presented by Martin Brook, our township clerk.
Okay, in the packet behind item number 7 is a memo in the existing township resolution concerning Class C and tavern licenses and the revisions that are suggested. The reason is because of two things. One, the state law changed, so some of the provisions that we had concerning the reviews that we conduct here before issuing a Class C or tavern license have changed, and so the proposal would make those adjustments. Plus an increase in the expected investments and that were in the previous resolution, just were updated based on, inflation. There's no special method to that other than an inflation adjustment. So if we want to increase those based on inflation, the numbers are in here. They go from $250,000 to $333,000 and $1.5 million to $2 million. Class C are the type of license you get in order to serve alcohol for on-site consumption of any type, and the tavern license is just for the on-site consumption of beer and wine. So this is basically a housekeeping item to update a prior resolution concerning the factors the Township Board would consider when issuing a new Class C or tavern license.
Thank you for presenting that and updating everything. It was nice going through the minutes. It was like going through down memory lane. I'm ready to make a motion unless there's any concerns, or make a motion that we approve as presented.
Okay.
Support.
Support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 7-0. Great. Thank you, Martin. And item number 8. Wow.
I move we adjourn.
Support.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. We are adjourned. Nice work. All right.